think we'll go ahead and get started. I know we're running a little over on some of the other sessions, so there might be some people coming in as we're going, but I'll try to encourage them to come sit up front. So hi, everybody. My name is Tyler. I'm the Director of Resilience at the Waterfront Alliance. I'm just saying a quick hello. Thanks for being here. I'm excited for this panel. Joe is going to moderate the panel, so I'll turn it over to Joe to introduce the panel and all of our speakers, and thanks for being here for conference.
Hello, everybody. I am Joe Leone, the Associate Commissioner for the Department of Design and Construction's Coastal Resiliency Construction Division. I'm going to have each person introduce themselves.
Gwen.
Oh, sorry, Lily. Okay. I'm Gwen Dawson. I am the retiring Senior Vice President of Design and Construction for Battery Park City Authority. I have worked with Battery Park City Authority for nearly 16 years, during which time the authority has undertaken several major resiliency projects, one of which is right outside this building. I'm kind of embarking on a little sabbatical for a little while to catch my breath a little bit before I jump back in, but happy to be here with you today.
Hi, good afternoon. Michael Capasso, President of C.A.C. Industries. I've been the president for 31 years. We actually converted to an 100% employee-owned company last April in 2024. And we are performing two resiliency projects right now in the city of New York. One, we're a tri-venture partner at East Coast Resiliency with Iavino Affiliates and the Silico Company. And we're also partners with Suite SLS for Battery Park City Resiliency right down the block.
Hi, this is Ameya Talikar. I'm the Project Controls Manager for Reedman Peterson, GPI. And we are the PMCM from Project Management and Construction Management firm for BMCR Coastal Resiliency job. And on this job, I'm taking care of CPM scheduling, claims consulting, and all the 4D, 5D, BIM stuff on this job.
And a little bit about myself. I started with the city back with DEP before there was a DDC, transferred over to DDC. I left in 99, went private to a contractor, still doing infrastructure construction in New York City, and then with consulting engineering firms until a few years back when the Coastal Resiliency program took off. I came back to the DDC to head up the construction division for our coastal resiliency. So DDC's Coastal Resiliency Program is born out of Superstorm Sandy. Tens of $1 billion in damage, 44 deaths, flooded subways, vehicle tunnels, all kinds of infrastructure damage, many homes damaged, businesses damaged. Federal government, Housing and Urban Development, put out a competition, Rebuild by Design, company by the name of BIG, came through with the Big U, which is just a treatment all around the lower sections of the perimeter of Lower Manhattan to provide flood protection. Right now, we have 4 active mega projects at the DDC. Looking at the north in the red, that's our ESCR, which is East Side Coastal Resiliency Project Area 2. That project is actually substantially completed up in the fall. It's all above ground flood protection, all above ground flood walls and floodgates. Going down, the yellow is our largest project. IPC Michael is part of that. It's a $1.2 billion project. In lieu of building a lot of above ground flood protection, we raised a 55-acre park 8 to 9 feet, and we put our flood protection seepage barrier below ground. Inland of that, we have our ESCR parallel conveyance. That is a project that greatly increases the drainage capacity behind the flood protection system, so we do not get flooding behind the system, whether it be from the East River or from heavy rain events. And in blue, we extend the ESCR project all the way down to the Brooklyn Bridge with our Brooklyn Bridge Montgomery BMCR, or Two Bridges project. That was kind of tricky because the FDR drive is there and there was not a lot of room. We had to build our flood protection underneath, and you'll see some of the innovative ways which we were able to do that. All total, we're at active construction, 3.4 miles long. We have more projects coming, including one in Red Hook, Brooklyn this year. We protect up to an elevation of 16.5 above mean sea level. That came about. It is the projected 100-year storm in the year 2050 with sea level rise. We protect all total about 150,000 residents. They will be taken out of a 100-year floodplain. FEMA will redo their maps at the end of our work. And our total cost for the 4 mega projects is a little over $2 billion. Picture on the right, a typical flood wall above ground. That's that's our project area 2, which is completed. The parks are open. You're welcome to go take a look at that directly. That's just an end cap where a swing gate closes. These flood walls are all poured in place. They are made to withstand, and the foundations can handle not only the water pressure on them, but also impact resistant for any ships that may get dislodged. And the foundations can also handle a 2 foot more elevation to be placed on top of the flood wall and the gates. Picture on the left is a swing gate. A couple of guys can swing that closed from one side to the other. There's another swing gate you can't see on the other side. But when all the openings are closed, it creates an impermeable barrier. Picture on the right is a very long roller gate. Roller gates are like a skinny railway car. They run on rails. They can't be pulled closed by hand, but with a small winch and either a car battery or a small generator, we can open and close that gate. This way we don't have to have any electric on site that could get damaged during a storm. Okay. Hydraulic flip-up gates. This is the section underneath the FDR drive. We didn't have a lot of room. We drove piles for our supports with micro piles to have them be able to be put under the FDR drive. The picture on the left, the shaded areas, that's actually our hydraulic flip-up gates. Nobody knows they're there, part of the recreation area. And then a storm surge comes in, and the left side of that flips open, and you can see what it looks like when it's open. We already have over 1,000 linear feet of that constructed. We'll have 3/4 of a mile of continuous flip-up gates. It is push-button hydraulic. If that fails, we can open it manually with mini payloaders or skid steers. We incorporate things into our contracts such as incentives. Our project area 2 did have incentives. It finished early and under budget, so that works. Another thing that works great for us is value engineering. Value engineering is where the contractor can come up with some innovative ideas to save money or time on a project. We take a look at it. If we agree, we move forward. We share 50-50 in the savings. This was a particularly cool one. The existing esplanade out over the river had to be replaced, about 1.5 miles of it. But we're raising the park 8 to 9 feet. So we had to put in giant beams that were supposed to be poured in place, all kinds of rebar and concrete, and a new floor for the new esplanade. Contractor came back. We wanted to precast it at a place off-site with the beams and the roof together, put them in place, and bring them in by barge and set them. There was a tremendous cost savings, millions. There was time savings. We had ability to construct it independent of weather conditions. Heavy reduction in the environmental risk of pouring concrete over the East River. And very important, we eliminated the need for 1,800 concrete trucks to come to and from the site into Manhattan.
And Joe, one of the other things, it takes away a risky work environment where if you had to pour it in place, workers are working over the river and the currents are very dangerous. Here, you're setting precast, which is a safer operation.
Yeah, if you have seen the current in this area, it's very, very strong. Good point. But where's the flood wall? It's underground. Runs kind of right through the middle of the park in most areas. And the park is raised up high so you don't see it. It is a impermeable barrier. It's mostly sheet piling in areas where we had utilities coming through. We used a lot of injection grouting. It is an impermeable barrier. Water cannot go from one side to the other. Soils cannot go from one side to the other. So it protects everything inland. Doing it this way gave us a great opportunity to work with the community, a lot of community engagement, a lot of community input. We have ball fields, we have tennis courts, basketball courts, track and field, picnic areas, barbecue areas. We have a nature exploration area. This area down here to the left is an amphitheater. It'll eventually get a canopy over it. We're building a small compost facility. We have a whole bunch of things going on that we're able to do without anybody seeing any of the flood protection. One of the things we had to do, though, because we raised the park 8 or 9 feet, is give new access. We have 3 new pedestrian bridges coming across the FDR Drive. One of them's already active. The Delancey Street Bridge, right by the Williamsburg Bridge. Collier's Hook Bridge is going to open approximately on Labor Day this year. And then there's another one at 10th Street, which we're going to open up next year. So like I said, we're a large program. We're growing. We rely a lot on management techniques that use technology. And I'm going to turn this over to Amaya, who heads up for GPI, our 3D modeling, which has expanded into 5D modeling. Thank you, Amaya.
Yeah, thanks, Joe.
Sure you are.
That was pretty busy. Where's this one? Okay. Again, thanks, Joe. So like I said, so we are a part of one of the stretch that DDC working on, which is called DNCR, Brooklyn Bridge and Montgomery Street coastal resiliency job. And this job is, situated between two major bridges. And so I would say this job is in the heart of the city. So when we started with the job, we had a lot of issues. We came across existing projects that EDC is currently working on. There are a lot of other DoD jobs going on in the same area. Then we started digging up the area. There were a lot of utilities which were unknown, which were not on the as-built drawing, which were like buried maybe hundreds of years before. We never know, right? So when we started, the contract had only 2D drawings. Like it was a traditional, design bid-build job. So DDC actually, thanks to DDC, that they came up with an idea that why don't we go a little step ahead and, implement 3D, 4D, and 5D into this job so that we know exactly what we're going to do. Plus, everyone working on the job knows what we're going to do, right? So this is a part of one of the 4D element where we are actually doing a 360 walkthrough on the field, and our BIM models are in real time transported onto the images or the videos. So as you walk on the field, it's something like Google Maps. So you walk on the construction field, but at the same time, you see the project that is going to come in this field. So this is very useful for the construction team, also useful for the owners or the communities, and everyone on the job knows this structure is going to come in that area. So this is helping us like into clearing of the areas for the upcoming construction activities. Also, we know where are the school bus stops, where are the critical areas, maybe the parking areas for the fire stations or whatever. So everything that is going to come in the area, we already know. So we are using this tool as a risk identification and to mitigate the risk. So if you see here, this is our BIM model, and on the left side you see the actual image of the floodgate that is installed. So I just want to highlight here, just look at the level of detail that we are currently developing on the job. So like each and every like bolt and nut, everything is matching into the real, a real fabrication of the gate. So we have gone to that level of the BIM. Plus, we are not just using this BIM for design, but we are also using this for construction management. So as we progress along the job, we use this tool to replace our traditional Gantt charts. Like any of you, if working on a construction jobs, we have those traditional Gantt charts generated in MSP or Primavera. So we are literally replacing that with this modern approach, where we integrate our Primavera Gantt charts time schedule with our BIM model, and you see the images there. So left is the contract baseline, how we're going to complete the projects. Against that, every month we have a meeting and we compare what is our actual progress. So nobody has to go through those 100 pages of report. You can just see the animation and compare the progress. Also, we have the cost into that, so we know what our spending is looking like. So that's it. This is another example where like if owner wants to see what exactly we're going to do in certain area of the job, so we can just pull up the image of that area and run the animation so that everyone knows on the job, like in particular area, what we're going to do for entire summer. So we just pull out the videos and have our progress meetings or say look at meetings on the job. So yeah, that's it.
One of the things the city has found very helpful is when we get a set of plans and we start doing some excavation, we realize not everything is where it's supposed to be. So as we gathered that information, they transferred it onto the 3D plans, and we saw where all our interferences were going to be. Hundreds of interferences we were able to identify and go down and either mitigate them ahead of time or determine whether or not they were valid or not. So it was very, very helpful, I have to say. It's been a great help to managing the project to have this tool. Anytime we had to change gears and switch something, we could see what it was going to look like, both as per the original and as per the change, progress, and funding. So it worked out really well. Thank you, Amaya.
Into
Oh. Do you have any slides or?
now we all just here. Questions?
Yeah. Would you like to say anything?
Well, sure. Yeah, it can be. Yeah, I don't have slides to show you of the Battery Park City projects, although I'm sure several of you at least have seen a couple of the presentations about Battery Park City projects. If you looked at the Lower Manhattan map that Joe showed earlier, the Battery Park City projects are on the left side of that map, on the west side of Lower Manhattan. The South Battery Park City project running from State Street up to First Place here at the museum, and then the Northwest project extending beyond that to the north along the waterfront of Battery Park City up through a portion of Tribeca. Similar to the city projects that Joe mentioned, we're just shy of about 2 miles in length of project length, and also a little over $2 billion in costs for the two projects. The South project is underway, anticipated substantial completion by the end of this year. And then the Northwest project is proceeding under a progressive design build project delivery approach from design into the beginning of construction towards the end of this year, anticipated probably around a 6-year construction duration. I wanted to maybe kind of shift gears a little bit and try to focus on some of the particular points, highlight some points as suggested by the title of the session here, delivering projects with emerging technology and contract incentives, and just highlight from an owner's perspective just a few things that we might want to pursue a little further with some further discussion or questions. And I've organized them in 3 different categories. One is technology, and I'm going to shift from construction into design a little bit, because from an owner's perspective, especially in an urban project such as the ones that Battery Park City Authority has been pursuing, the ability to utilize emerging technology for purposes of instilling greater understanding of the project and the need for the project and the design of the project is hugely important. Not only for the owner, but also for the community. And community engagement has been an enormous portion and an enormous part of these projects. So the ability to utilize technology to really provide greater insight through modeling, whether that be coastal modeling or drainage modeling, and then being able to provide visual simulations of those models so that folks can understand better the reason that the projects are necessary. And then through the course of design, utilizing those same kinds of technological tools to be able to show dynamic renderings, so you're not stuck with static rendering. You do dynamic rendering, augmented reality, virtual walkthroughs or fly-throughs of project areas, so that people can have a really more intimate understanding of what this is going to look like or feel like once it's completed. Goes a long way towards being able to create more support for the project, to clear up misunderstandings about the project, and avoid any delays or stoppages that might be created if there is not that kind of understanding and support for the project. Also, during design, it is helpful to be able to anticipate, kind of look a little around the corner once the project is complete, to understand what operating and maintenance needs may be for the project. And I know that in our case, when we were looking at that, we're not sure exactly what kind of technology might be available once the project is complete. A number of years from now, given the advances in the rate of how these technologies advance, but to be able to anticipate that there might be a desire to monitor or to have a technology that there are sensors that could really be in place to maintain and operate these and the deployable mechanisms that Joe mentioned, the flip-up gates and the swing gates and the stop log systems, et cetera, that may be involved. That to make provisions, so put in conduits or whatever the infrastructure is to be able to support those in the future, even if you don't know exactly what the technology may be. Second category is technology during construction, and in addition to the technology and the 4D, 5D modeling that Amayo and Joe were mentioning earlier, one thing that is going to be hugely important, kind of circling back again to community, is any kind of technology that the owner and the contractors can avail themselves of to lessen the negative impacts on the community of an extended construction duration. So anything that, like these methodologies that may help to shorten the duration of the construction time. It's hugely important. Also, along the way, anything that can lessen the amount of construction noise or vibration, the ultimate disturbances to the community. And I know that things like, increasing availability of electric powered construction equipment is a huge thing. And right now the demand's kind of outstripping the supply, but that I anticipate will continue to develop over time and become more available, and there will be a huge demand for that. Third category is just an overall kind of a reference to maybe a little plug for progressive design build as a project delivery methodology. I know that that's something that has not been available to agencies and public entities for all that long now. We started our Northwest project as a progressive design build project, and just in addition to the contract incentives that Joe mentioned, the progressive design build kind of operates as kind of almost like a contractual incentive in and of itself for both the owner and the contracting parties, because it enables everyone to kind of move forward in time a lot of the key issues and features of the project, such as identifying constructability issues, identifying how and determining how contingencies are to be used, so that there's a greater sense of ownership collectively in the project, and hopefully not as many things that are surprises down the line, and the ability to deal with those up front. I'll leave there.
Yeah, and as DDC, we are looking to expand our design build and progressive design build. Now we have the ability to do that. I think it's going to be great for coastal resiliency projects in particular. I'm just thinking, when we're talking about technology, we use, on the very large project we have, we use drone flights every 2 weeks as well. And not only do we get to see everything how it's changing and get to share it with others that don't have time to walk a 55-acre site. But we're able to take shots of the topography from the drone before and after we raise areas, and we can get volumes calculated on the amount. So it's a good check for our inspection staff, which has been very, very helpful to us. Michael, you have anything you want to talk about?
I think the biggest thing with these large projects is the collaboration between the owner, the contractors and the contractor community and their subcontractors, the vendors, and the community. East Coast Resiliency, we're using the waterways to bring a ton of materials that ton to hundreds and hundreds of thousands of yards of fill. So that is not impacting trucks coming through the local community. Obviously, the emissions are a lot less, so the air quality is better, things of that nature.
Big help. Very good. I guess we could open up to some questions. So the height varies because the ground elevation varies, but the top of the wall is always at 16.5 feet above mean sea level. I think at our highest, it's almost 10 feet. But in most areas, it's lower. Yes. I'm New York City Department of Design and Construction, so that's all I would deal with. And there's other projects also being done outside of the DDC. The Army Corps of Engineers is starting up a project on Staten Island for a long flood wall. Also a multi-billion-dollar project. The state just did some breakwaters on the south shore of Staten Island that I'm aware of. That's from the Governor's Office of Coastal Resiliency. There's some other areas around the city that work is being done. Outside of the city, I'm not too familiar with.
But there are resiliency projects in other parts of the country.
Sure. Florida, Texas especially.
You're overseeing your own book?
I'm not. The Army Corps of Engineers themselves is overseeing that project. But I am a Staten Islander, and maybe after this I can... But that's a really cool project. That runs from the Verrazano all the way down to Great Kills and then wraps into Highland Boulevard. I'm going to say a good 5 miles of flood protection. It's a good project. Yes.
Yeah. Were there any contract incentives in your battery participated projects? Yes. In terms of performance time. Again, we delivered the projects with different kinds of contract delivery systems for our the smaller battery participated fall field project, and then the South project were both done as traditional design bid build projects, which allow for this those kinds of incentives to be utilized with respect to the progressive design build project for the Northwest. There's a lot more in the way of kind of opportunities for adjustment. There is a guaranteed maximum price amendment that happens after the design phase is done. That enables the parties to add more provisions in at that point in time. So there are. I don't recall specifically what the duration and the actual specifics were.
You mean like early completion incentive?
Yes. In our project area too, we had significant incentives, and it worked. And you make that back because you don't have to supervise that project for that extra 6 months. So there's quite a bit of savings. PA2 had that. Yes.
I differ Joe. You're a happy spec. European jelly bugs is basic.
I'll start that with Amaya's a genius. He really is. Go ahead, Amaya.
So yeah, we had a lot of issues. I wouldn't deny that. Because this part of the city is the most complex one, right? So we first thought about drones, but because of FDR, you cannot really fly the drones. Then we had a lot of hurdles to go roam across the field. But then we realized, okay, we can still use this technology using the static cameras. We can mount those on the hard hat. So currently, a lot of data center jobs, building jobs, they are using it. And I would say this is one of the first jobs where this technology is being used on the horizontal jobs, right? So yeah, so we had issues, but we are just learning. This is our first job on this sort of using this sort of technology. Plus, because of BDC, we could migrate from traditional design 2D PDF drawings to 3D. So 3D was not a part of the contract. We literally had to create those models using the 2D design. So we had to go from scratch, from traditional to advanced technology. So we had challenges. Your second question regarding the access. So currently we have access limited to DDC, that is our owners, and the PMCMT. But we often invite the contractor to attend our progress meeting, so they can also have an access to the system. They can look through the videos, look through our look ahead schedules, and so that their plan is in line with what we are for. So yeah, so currently it's limited to the project team.
So it's very helpful to us if I want to know how deep the pile went in a certain area or how close one facility was to another facility. You just bring that up when, in 2D, you're not going to really get all that information that you need. It's very, very helpful to us.
Yeah, plus we added the existing utilities. Like when we did the test pits on the field, we came to know, okay, what existing utilities are there buried underground. So we tried to model those into the model so that before even we start hitting the ground, we know where are the actual clashes going to come. So that saved us a lot of time into actual construction phase.
Yeah, we did over 125 test pits. To plot all that information by hand would have been very, very time consuming, and you wouldn't have got the same kind of feeling from what was out there. But to put it in 3D automatically really, really was a time saver and helped a lot. Yes.
Are you leveraging this information and data into your operations and maintenance services as well?
Design and construction. We do not operate or maintain. We turn it over. Each of our projects may be turned over to somebody. That project is owned by EDC. We have other projects that are owned by parks, etc. So it's going to be up to them. They may not be well enough trained to handle some of this technology, but even without the ability for them to, it's helpful enough for us that it's worth the additional effort and cost. But if they can use it, it would be great. I know the city eventually does want to put all their water and sewer on a 3D model, so they'll be able to take our plan for whatever we do on our project, which is distribution water main for the whole project, Trump water main for that whole project, and quite a bit of other stuff that we have. They'll be able to plot it very easily. And when you have things like compound bends in utilities, very hard to show in 2D what it actually looks like and what the angles really are, but it comes up pretty well perfect on this 3D model.
I have a two-part question. I'm a huge fan of progressive procurement as well, so applaud you guys. Just two-part question. Have you guys been able to document project cost, time, or administrative effort savings with these progressive procurement approaches where they've been employed? And secondly, have you had any kind of pushback from some of the local or the kind of traditional business community who maybe is not comfortable with the risk associated with it? They may not have an opportunity to bid on the project and construction, what have you. So any kind of pushback from the community, the business community with progressive procurement approaches?
I will tell you the information that we have been able to kind of put together thus far, because we're only, the Battery Park City Authority is only partway through the project. So ultimately, at the end of the day, the authority will have the ability to really compare the South project as a progressive, as a design bid build project to the Northwest as a progressive design build project. With a progressive design build project, the first phase of it looks a lot like a design bid build project because there is a very defined design phase, which is not the case with a traditional design build project without getting too far into the weeds here, which is handed over much earlier in the process. So once you get to the end of the design phase and go into the construction phase, that's kind of where the big difference occurs. I will say that the experience with the design process has, I believe, put the authority in a much better position going into that construction phase because of all of the collaboration that's been done with the contractor, the design team, and the permitting agencies and the owner to identify issues, challenges, constructability obstacles, that those have been addressed in significant part through that design phase. So going into the actual construction, I think we're going to find that we're in as that progresses, that the authority will be in a much better position. As far as reaction, and I assume you're talking about the contracting field.
Our
it is. I think that everybody kind of has a hard time making the adjustment. I mean, I think that we saw that in terms of just the authority's own comfort level. It took a while to switch gears and to get comfortable with the approach. The same thing has held true with the permitting agencies not really being that familiar with it and having to gain a comfort level. As far as the design industry and contractors, I think that once they kind of started digging into it, there was a greater comfort level. There is an ability to really have a feeling of controlling their own fate, I think, a little bit more. And with the smaller companies, smaller contractors, smaller design firms, I think there has been, because of the size of some of these projects, it has been an opportunity to do a lot of joint venturing and partnering and subcontracting that has really kind of made it a lot easier for those firms to participate.
And we've been getting a lot of interest on our design build proposals that are going out at this point. So I don't think that's an issue. Michael also said before, on these large projects, one of the most important things is collaboration. And so I think the contractors look forward to that and then working together. Am I right?
Yeah, because it's a less of an antagonistic relationship when it's design bid build as opposed to design build. We're working with you on much more in simpatico.
Nobody had a question? No.
I was taking the condition.
Thank you. Not me, but us.
Hi, I had a. Are you looking at Talana or things about
we actually start right at the Brooklyn Bridge and move north. So yes, we're doing some of the promenade under the Brooklyn Bridge. We have a very large excavation underneath one of the exit ramps for the Brooklyn Bridge. I mentioned before we have parallel conveyance, which greatly increases the drainage capacity. We have some very large interceptor sewers downtown, and we're going to put giant valves on them and kind of isolate certain areas from the flow coming in from areas that don't flood and use that storage to help the areas that do flood. So we're going to be in that location for a little while with some big excavations over by South Street, and we are going to be restoring the esplanade underneath the Brooklyn Bridge, and that will include flip-up gates as well.
Pwede rin already dami batan o then kung
Part, see if I can get back to that sketch to make things a little clearer. Somebody else had a question in the meanwhile?
Hi, Morgan. I work for Malikan Share. We're a DBE civil engineering firm. We do mostly like transportation work.
No plugs.
Yeah, or it's my bad. We're looking to get into like this, sort of coastal resilience work, and I think you started to speak about another project, but I was just wondering if there's anything else in the pipeline, like in Brooklyn or other boroughs, that the DDC is planning to.
So under my section, we are going to start Red Hook. Red Hook is already bid. We're waiting for some final funding. We expect to start that in about 2 months. That is a large coastal resiliency project in a very low-lying, vulnerable area of Brooklyn, which will have a lot of good impact. The only other thing we're doing between our Esker project area 1 and 2, we don't have a greenway because of some Con Ed facilities that conflict. We're actually going to do a design build to go out over the East River with a greenway. Well, that's the only other thing that I have in the works. There's plenty in planning and design. We are going to be growing quickly. And EDC is designing some things too, and they designed the BMCR project, and when it was completed design, they gave it to us. So it's very possible that some of the things that they're designing, they're going to give to the DDC to do. So can we go back to the map?
Okay, no, that's good.
So this is the area under the Brooklyn Bridge that we were talking about, moving over here. And on this map over here, you can see the area where the DDC is working. That's where our 4 projects are. As you wrap around the U and come up this way, it becomes Battery Park Authority, where there are 2 active jobs and 1 pump.
Oh,
should I get an answer?
Look.
So, yeah, Marcus. So, when you were saying that, I'm sorry. So on this, on the swing gate, right? Where is the gate that's gonna come? So
This swing gate here is going to flap around and connect here. And there's another one on this side that's going to flap around and connect. It'll be a continuous wall. The wall is continuous with these large openings that get closed with the gate. But once the gates are closed, it's continuous, and that's it. There's a bladder that comes down, feel at the bottom. There's sill plates on the side. We've tested them. They can hold the water back. That opening is about 80 feet wide. The picture doesn't give it justice. That gate gets rolled into place, and once again, a bladder comes down, and it has the sill plate. We've tested it. They're watertight, and our flood wall up there runs through 15th Street to 25th Street, 100% complete. However, it does not act independently of the larger project. We have to finish our extra project area 1 before we can deploy the gates during the storm.
But which area is this now?
This right here, 20th Street,
And the FTR?
underneath the FDR Drive, and the wall actually meanders to the left. Is on the water side of the FDR Drive, and you can see the wall goes that way, and then it cuts back. So it goes to the other side of the FDR Drive. It goes to Asalivi Park, to the Veterans Administration Building.
Okay.
And it connects to their flood wall, if you're familiar with the area. Yeah.
Hi, how are you? In context of these gates and the flood wall, how are you preventing like the bathtub effect with the parallel conveyance for this area?
So DEP will be in charge of not only closing these large floodgates, but there's sluice gates in all of the sewers that outlet into the East River. So when the East River comes up, it will not be able to come back on us through the sewers. So that stops that part. If you have a heavy rain event, and Sandy did not, but if you have a heavy rain event, you probably would have flooding behind the flood protection system. So what we've done is we found some key locations where we could take the storm flow that can no longer go out to the East River because everything's closed off, where we can dump it down into our oversized interceptor sewer. We might use it like a giant tank. And those valves I was talking about, giant. And this room's probably 9 foot high. They're 9-foot diameter sewers. They're tremendous. Imagine trying to close a valve on those. So we close them, isolate certain areas, and use the additional the excess volume for storage. Because it does mix with the sewage, after the storm, we will pump it to a treatment plant. It goes directly under the river to the Newtown Creek sewage treatment plant. So it all gets disposed of properly in the end. And modeling has shown that it buys us a lot of time. It's a significant amount of time by dropping that stormwater into the interceptor sewer.
Just to add that on our Northwest project, the Battery Park City 30 is actually building a new pump station to address the potential for ponding behind the flood barrier system. Yeah.
Building information model. Yeah.
So get on the Adobe when Sunday on where to computer. I see sickly capital. Real sickly. Why do you not buy it? Jamaica Water Company was sold in 1985, so a lot of that groundwater is just sitting there and it's not going anywhere. That's rising the water table level. So we would, and it's flooding out there. So we were trying to get the stations to be open for them to pump some of that water out because we had a major issue when we had Hurricane Ida.
Yeah, I think that there's been a real eye-opening effect of the last 10 years or so because after Sandy, the focus was on storm surge, and these resiliency projects were focused primarily on the surge, the flood coming from the storm surge. With the events of the last 10 years, especially the ones that involve the really heavy rainfalls, there has been a growing realization that is a huge issue as well, and being able to address the ponding and the accumulation of water from rainfall and behind the flood barrier system.
One other question. Is that also going to help with the subway stations? Because we remember when that water was coming in, it was coming in so fast that it flooded the subway station.
Can you go back to the picture of the Big U? So when the Big U is complete, absolutely it's going to have a tremendous effect on water getting to the subway stations. Right now there's going to be sections that are done. Some of them, like the ESCR, the 3 ESCR projects, they are self-sufficient by themselves. Our BMCR project is self-sufficient by itself, but not all of the projects are self-sufficient. So there are going to be pockets until that whole U is done. There's going to be pockets where water can get through. So it depends on where the station is and what's completed at the time of the storm. Hopefully the storms hold off till we get that Big U done.
And
the work that we have active right now will all be complete in about 2 years. And Battery Park Authority?
The South project will be substantially complete by the end of 25, and the Northwest project we're looking at probably late 2030. So,
and the other agencies, the tunnels put gates on. Some of the underpasses are getting gates, so it's not just the flood rail. They're also protecting other infrastructure. Train yards are being protected.
Yeah, the MTA is doing that on their own, trying to better protect them. And Con Ed's better protecting their generation plant. And there's a lot of other things in the work besides what we're doing for flood walls and grazing the grade and flood protection measures here. Holding the perimeter. I think that's all the time we have.